Hi, you're watching Secular Society TV and I'm Fariborz Puya. We're debating Sharia law in Britain and the campaign, One Law for All campaign in Britain to end practice of Sharia law in Britain. We have in our studio Mariam Namazi, the campaign coordinator, and Bahram Surush, an analyst and human rights activist. Thank you very much for rejoining the program. Let's just continue our discussion. People argue that Sharia cancels our people's right to religion, and practicing the religion is a basic fundamental right. What's the problem with this, and why can not people practice Sharia law? Bahram Surush.
Well, it's not a question of right to religion, because right to religion means that you have the right to believe in that belief system of religion, and as long as it's a personal matter for yourself. But it doesn't mean that you have to act on it. Act on what all the religious precepts and which affect the lives of others. Religious tribunals or Sharia councils affect the lives of other people. So they are being used to enact certain laws which date from 1,400 years ago or 2,000 years ago in case of other religions. Which are a set of dogmas and which reflect the society of that time, which are, if you pull it from that period and bring it to 21st century, it is obvious that it's going to contravene people's rights, it's going to breach, all the gains that humanity has made until now in terms of equality of the sexes, people's rights to free speech, anti-discriminatory laws.
Yes, but that's a philosophical debate. What's the problem with people voluntarily seeking mediation to resolve the personal problems?
But the point is, in the case of, for example, Sharia law, it is not just on a very, on small matters of dispute, for example, which can be resolved. You and I can go to a third person and ask them. I mean, arbitration in itself, the legal system we have in this country, the court system we have in the country, is an arbitration in itself. But then you have a legal system which has been taken centuries to be developed, to be put in place, and which applies to everyone. Now, what is happening? We are setting up a parallel legal system, a parallel court system, and it's being governed, going to be governed by a parallel body of law. That is the problem here. It's not a question of the right to religion. If you want, as a person, to pray, for example, not eat certain foods or eat some other stuff, but you cannot impose those ideas and try to govern the relationship of people. For example, on family laws, you can't say, because my religion says that women are worth half men, that, for example, daughters should inherit half the sons, for example, or because a 9-year-old girl is considered an adult and can be married away, or because my religion says that man has the right to divorce. Man can only give the right to divorce.
But can I also can I add something? I mean, I think that it's sort of deceptive to say that it's people's right to religion, because in effect, what it is, it's an appeasement and a capitulation to the political Islamic movement. A few days ago, I had a debate with Amjad Chowdhury, who's one of the Sharia judges, and he's completely a representative of the political Islamic movement. He thinks people should be stoned for adultery. He thinks being gay and a Muslim is an oxymoron. He said it himself on BBC TV. He thinks women who are unveiled are, and so on and so forth. And the point is that you're actually saying that, first of all Muslims accept the political Islamic and Sharia law stance on things, and that's not necessarily true.
It doesn't have to be political
and
Islamic.
Also,
Mariam, can I just press you a bit on this? There is an issue about people voluntarily submitting to certain mediation.
Okay, but
what is the problem with that?
The problem, of course, people can voluntarily do many things. A mother can voluntarily mutilate the genitals of her daughter, and or a father, a daughter. We had the example on the BBC TV program where they said the woman who Muhammad stoned insisted that she be stoned, voluntarily, and Muhammad was forced to stone her, and that's why they're stoning in Islam. I'm sorry, that's not good enough. First of all, even in a situation of voluntary, society has to intervene and say, okay, you want to work because your family is poor? I'm sorry, you can't, because you're a child, and there are child labor laws to protect you. You want to smoke? Inside a pub, you can't, because it affects the health of other people. So, society intervenes all the time, even when people want to do certain things. But apart from that fact is, people don't usually voluntarily go to a court where they don't have the right to divorce, where they can lose custody of their children, where they're treated as half of a man, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of pressure for women in particular to submit to these courts. And in a sense, you find that the most vulnerable segments of the society are being railroaded into going to these courts and not getting the decisions they want. Many women come out of these courts unhappy. So in a sense, it's not really voluntary. But even if it was, my point is that it's not the right to religion. I think it's a mistake to look at Sharia courts as someone's right to religion. You have a right to your religious beliefs. It's an absolute right. But that doesn't mean you have a right to canon law, or that you have a right to the Beth Din, or you have a right to Sharia courts. They're very, very different things. They change and fundamentally undermine the equality between men and women, the rights and welfare of children, and many other things that have been fought for generations.
Yes, I mean, I agree that there's fundamental flaws in the Sharia law. People will argue, well, this is how it's practiced in Iran, in Afghanistan, but this is Britain, and within the framework of the British law, certain mediation could be allowed and could be monitored.
Sure. I mean, people have asked me that. Can it not be compatible in some ways? Well, yes, if you can get racial apartheid to somehow become compatible with, a non-racist or an anti-racist legislation in society, fine. Go ahead and try and do that with Sharia as well. Can you try to implement, something that is misogynist and homophobic and implement it in such a way that it promotes people's rights and respects gay rights and so on? I don't think it's possible, because it's incompatible. And that's why it has to stay in the private sphere. People can think whatever they want, and that's their right to do that. But it's a very different matter when it becomes the law, and I think we need to stand up to it and not allow it to happen.
Thank you. This is Secular. You're watching Secular Society TV. This is a discussion we have regarding Sharia law in Britain and its implementation, which is creeping slowly into the body of the legal system in Britain, and some people are in denial. We will take a break for a moment, and we'll be back to continue our discussion.